The stars look different when you own them. Admiral Dravik traced his clawed finger across the holographic display, counting his victories. 47 star systems. 47 worlds that had bent their knee to the Korthan dominion. Each conquest had been simpler than the last, each species weaker than their weapons suggested. His flagship, the Worldbreaker, hummed with lethal potential. Behind it, stretching across the void like a sea of predators, 10,000 warships waited for his command. The largest armada in Korthan history, assembled for what intelligence promised would be the easiest prize yet. Earth, the name meant nothing in the Korthan language. Just another blue planet orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Preliminary scans showed primitive technology, electromagnetic noise, suggesting they had barely mastered radio communication. Chemical rockets struggled to reach their own moon. The planet's defenders possessed fewer than 100 orbital stations, each one smaller than a Korthan escape pod. Commander Reth approached the command platform, his armor plates clicking against the metal floor. "Admiral, the final scout reports have arrived. The humans appear to be attempting communication." Dravik's jaw split in what passed for a Korthan smile. "Let me hear their surrender." The communication played across the bridge. A female voice spoke in clear Korthan, the language somehow perfect despite humanity never having encountered their species before. "This is Director Helen Walsh of United Earth Defense. We detect your fleet approaching our system. Turn back. We do not wish to harm you. You cannot win this fight." Laughter erupted across the bridge. Officers slapped their armored chests in amusement. Several junior commanders had to steady themselves against their stations. "She threatens us," Reth said, his voice filled with genuine delight. "With what?" "Their metal tubes that burn liquid fuel." Dravik ordered the message broadcast to the entire fleet. Within minutes, every ship echoed with mockery. Warriors who had crushed civilizations far more advanced than Earth found humor in the audacity. Some suggested keeping humans as entertainers, their capacity for delusion being worth preserving. "Send no response," Dravik commanded. "Let them watch us approach. Let them understand the futility of resistance." The Armada surged forward, engines burning at maximum capacity. They crossed the heliopause of a human system, their sensors painting a picture of a civilization barely capable of defending a single planet. No weapon platforms in deep space. No mines. No defensive perimeter whatsoever. "They have given up without fighting," one officer suggested. Dravik considered this. In his experience, most species recognized inevitable defeat. Perhaps humanity possessed enough intelligence to understand their situation. It would make the occupation simpler. Korthan doctrine preferred broken spirits over burned worlds. Dead planets produced nothing, but enslaved populations could labor for centuries. The fleet passed the orbit of the eighth planet, a massive gas giant the humans called Neptune. Dravik prepared to give the order to slow their approach, to array the fleet in proper invasion formation. Then every light on the Worldbreaker went dark. Emergency systems failed to activate. Backup generators remained silent. Across the bridge, holographic displays dissolved into nothing. The perpetual hum of the ship's fusion core, a sound so constant that Korthan physiology had learned to tune it out, vanished in the absolute darkness. Dravik heard his officers breathing, heard the click of armor as bodies shifted in confusion, heard his own heart beating faster than it had in a decade of warfare. Red emergency lighting finally flickered to life, powered by some ancient chemical backup system that no engineer had thought about in years. The dim glow revealed a bridge full of warriors trying to understand what had happened. "Report," Dravik barked, his voice cutting through the confused murmurs. "Main power is completely offline, sir. I cannot access any systems. Engineering is not responding to communication requests." Reth's voice carried an edge of something Dravik had never heard from his second-in-command before. "Uncertainty. All ships," Dravik commanded. "Full tactical network report." The response came through archaic backup channels, voice-only communication that required officers to physically shout into tubes connected to transmitters. One by one, every ship in the Armada reported the same impossible situation. Total power failure, propulsion offline, weapons offline, but life support functional, gravity maintaining, temperature stable. Whatever had struck them had been selective, impossibly precise. It had disabled their capacity to fight or flee while leaving them alive and comfortable. Dravik felt his stomach sink as he realized what this meant. The Armada was not dead in space. It was still moving, still traveling on the momentum they had built before the shutdown, moving directly toward Earth at tremendous velocity. Only now, they had no way to slow down that a junior officer noticed it first. "Admiral, something is attached to our hull." External visual sensors, running on independent backup power, showed the impossible truth. Sleek vessels, each one no larger than a Corthan shuttle, had clamped onto the world breaker. Dozens of them, their surfaces so dark they seemed to drink in starlight. A.S. Dravik watched. More appeared throughout the fleet. Hundreds, thousands, each one attaching to Corthan warships like parasites on dying prey. But they were not attacking. They were pushing, pulling, guiding. The human ships were hurting the entire Armada, controlling its trajectory with casual precision. "They're taking us somewhere," Reth whispered. The communication system crackled to life, powered by an external source. The same female voice from before, but now there was no warmth in it. Just cold certainty. "Admiral Dravik of the Corthan Dominion. We told you to turn back. We told you that you could not win. You chose not to listen. Now we will teach you why advanced civilizations do not make war. Your ships are no longer yours to command. Your weapons will never function again. And every single member of your crew will survive to understand what you tried to do here today." The channel closed in the darkness of his dead flagship, surrounded by 10,000 disabled warships. Dravik understood true helplessness for the first time in his long career. They had not been defeated in battle. They had been collected like specimens, dismissed as a threat so completely that the humans had not bothered to fire a single shot. The Armada drifted toward Earth, powerless to resist, while an entire species that refused to kill demonstrated exactly how mercy could be wielded as the ultimate weapon. The war was over before it had begun, and not one drop of blood had been spilled. 3 days of drifting through space had transformed Admiral Dravik's confident warriors into frightened soldiers. The Worldbreaker's corridors, once filled with the sounds of combat drills and victory songs, now echoed with uncertain whispers and half-finished conversations that died when senior officers approached. The human vessels maintained their grip on every ship, guiding the Armada closer to Earth with each passing hour. Engineers had torn apart control panels, ripped open power conduits, and even attempted to manually restart the fusion cores. Nothing worked. Whatever the humans had done operated at a level of technology the Corthan could not comprehend. Dravik found Reth in the engineering bay, surrounded by exhausted technicians covered in grease and frustration. "Explain it to me again," Dravik demanded. Reth's mandibles clicked in agitation. "The power is there, Admiral. The fusion reaction is occurring. Energy is being generated. But the moment it tries to flow to propulsion or weapons, it simply disappears. Not blocked, not redirected. It vanishes from existence. Everything else works perfectly. Life support, food synthesizers, waste recycling, even entertainment systems. Only our capacity to fight or flee has been eliminated. Impossible. I would have agreed with you 4 days ago, sir." A communication chime interrupted them, the sound startling in its normalness. A holographic display activated above the central console, powered by an external source. The human woman from before appeared, her features calm and professional. "Admiral Dravik, my name is Director Helen Walsh. Your ships will reach Earth orbit in 6 hours. I wanted to explain what happens next before you arrive." Dravik straightened, forcing authority into his voice despite their helpless situation. "You have disabled our fleet through cowardice. When the Corthan Dominion learns of this act, the Second Armada will reduce your planet to ash." Walsh's expression did not change. "Admiral, we have been monitoring your communications with your homeworld. They have indeed dispatched a second fleet. 50,000 ships this time. We will handle them the same way we handled you. The casual certainty in her voice made Dravik's blood run cold. Why have you not destroyed us? He asked. You clearly possess the capability. Because we do not kill, Admiral. Not anymore. Not for 80 years. What you're about to experience is something we learned after nearly destroying ourselves. You will understand soon enough. The transmission ended 0.6 hours later. The Armada entered Earth's orbital space. Dravik expected to see a heavily militarized planet, bristling with the weapons of a civilization advanced enough to disable his fleet. Instead, he saw a world that looked almost peaceful. Cities glowed across the night side of the planet. Orbital stations rotated serenely. Small craft moved between them in organized patterns. The human ships began separating the Korthan fleet, moving individual vessels into different orbital positions. The World Breaker was guided toward a massive station that dwarfed even the flagship. They're splitting us up, Reth observed, dividing our strength. We have no strength left to divide, Dravik replied bitterly. Docking clamps engaged with surprising gentleness. Airlocks connected with mechanical precision. Through the viewports, Dravik could see human figures waiting on the other side. Unarmed and relaxed, the airlock opened. A human male stepped through. Older than Walsh had appeared, with gray hair and weathered features. He wore simple clothes with no armor, no weapons, no indication of military rank. Admiral Dravik, Commander Reth, welcome to Unity Station. My name is Peter Chun. I will be your guide during your stay with us. Our stay. Dravik's claws flexed involuntarily. We are your prisoners. You are our guests, Peter corrected, though guests who arrived with hostile intentions. Kulme, your crew will be processed in groups and taken to surface facilities. You and your senior staff are coming with me first. And if we refuse, Peter smiled, the expression somehow sad. Then you will remain on your ship, perfectly comfortable but unable to leave, while your subordinates learn what you refuse to see. Eventually, curiosity will overcome pride. It always does. Dravik wanted to refuse, wanted to order his warriors to attack this unarmed human and take control of the situation. But every warrior on the bridge had seen their weapons fail, their technology dismissed as irrelevant. Pride seemed a small price to pay for understanding. Lead the way. They were transported to Earth's surface in a craft that moved so smoothly Dravik barely felt the descent. The journey ended at a facility built into mountainous terrain, all glass and metal that seemed to grow from the rock itself. Inside, the corridors were wide and well-lit. Soft music played from unseen sources. The air smelled clean in a way that recycled ship atmosphere never achieved. Human staff members passed them in the halls, some glancing at the Korthan delegation with curiosity, but none with fear. Peter brought them to a viewing room with an enormous window overlooking a valley. Below, Dravik could see other Korthan warriors being led through similar facilities. None were restrained. None were guarded. This is where your education begins, Peter said. You will sleep in comfortable quarters. Eat food better than military rations. Access entertainment systems if you wish. The doors are not locked, though I warn you that this facility is on a mountain peak with no easy descent. Why show us this mercy? Reth asked. We came to conquer your world. Peter turned to face them fully. Because 80 years ago, humans learned a terrible truth. We discovered that any species capable of reaching the stars represents something precious in the universe. Intelligence, creativity, the capacity to wonder about existence itself. To extinguish that, even in self-defense, is to diminish reality itself. You sound like a philosopher, not a warrior, Dravik said. We have no warriors anymore, Admiral. We have teachers, healers, builders. We have people who understand that true strength is not the ability to destroy, but the wisdom to preserve. Peter moved toward the door. Tomorrow, we show you why we chose this path. Tonight, rest. Process what has happened. Speak with your officers. The truth you face tomorrow will challenge everything you believe about power, about civilization, about what it means to be strong. After Peter left, Dravik and Reth stood in silence, watching their warriors move through the human facility below like lost children in an alien world. They defeated 10,000 warships without firing a shot, Reth finally said. How do we fight an enemy that refuses to be our enemy? Dravik had no answer. For the first time in his military career, he felt the weight of uncertainty. The Korthan had conquered through strength, through superior firepower and ruthless efficiency. But the humans had rendered all of that meaningless. Tomorrow would bring answers. Dravik was not certain he wanted to hear them. The quarters they provided were better than anything Dravik had experienced on military vessels. A real bed with soft materials instead of the hard sleeping platforms Korthan warships used. Temperature controlled to perfect comfort. A viewport showing the mountain landscape, stars visible in the clear night sky. Dravik did not sleep. He spent the night thinking about Walsh's words, about Peter's strange philosophy, about the ease with which humanity had neutralized the greatest military force the Korthan Dominion could assemble. When morning came, Peter arrived with another human, a younger woman who introduced herself as Dr. Lisa Park. Today you learn why we choose peace, she said simply. They were brought to an auditorium where hundreds of Korthan warriors had gathered. All of Dravik's senior staff, squadron leaders, ship commanders. The humans had assembled them without force, without threats, simply by asking. The room darkened. A three-dimensional projection filled the space around them, so realistic that Dravik felt momentarily disoriented. What you are about to experience is not entertainment. Dr. Park's voice came from everywhere and nowhere. This is history, human history, our darkest chapter, presented without alteration or mercy. You will see it as we saw it, feel it as we felt it, understand it as we now understand it. The projection changed. Dravik found himself standing in a human city, tall buildings reaching toward the sky. People moved through streets, going about their daily lives. Then the sky brightened with unnatural light. The nuclear weapon detonated 3 miles above the city center. Dravik watched buildings dissolve, watched people evaporate, watched the physics of atomic fire turn a thriving metropolis into a crater of glass and ash in seconds. The projection did not spare them any detail. They experienced the aftermath, the radiation sickness, the survivors burned beyond recognition, begging for death. The scene shifted to another city, another weapon, then another. This was our last war, Dr. Park explained as the horror continued. Human nations possessed enough nuclear weapons to destroy our entire species 12 times over. We used a fraction of that arsenal. 3 billion of our people died in 6 months of fighting. The projection showed hospitals overflowing with burned and dying. Showed children wandering through ruins looking for parents who had been vaporized. Showed soldiers sitting among bodies, too traumatized to move or speak. But worse than the violence was what came after. The projection placed them inside human minds, somehow allowing them to feel the emotions. Dravik experienced grief so overwhelming that his legs buckled. Experienced shame so deep it felt like drowning. Experienced the moment when survivors looked at what they had done and truly understood the cost. Reth made a sound somewhere between a gasp and a sob. Around the auditorium, hardened Korthan warriors were openly shaken. The projection showed a meeting of human leaders in the ruins of Geneva. Showed them signing documents with trembling hands. Showed the moment when humanity collectively decided that survival meant fundamental change. We could have continued, Dr. Park said. Could have rebuilt our weapons, prepared for the next war. Instead, we made a choice. We would transform ourselves at the genetic level. We would alter our own biology to make violence physically painful, to make us feel the suffering we might cause others. The projection shifted to laboratories, to scientists working with determination born from desperation. Showed the first volunteers accepting the treatment. Showed them attempting to hurt training partners and collapsing from empathic feedback. It took a generation to complete the change, Dr. Park continued. Every human alive today carries these modifications. We feel what others feel. Not perfectly, but enough. Enough that the thought of killing causes us physical pain. Enough that warfare became impossible. The projection faded. The lights returned. Dravik looked around the auditorium and saw his warriors in disarray. Some were crying, though Korthan physiology expressed it differently than humans. Others sat in stunned silence. All of them had been changed by what they experienced. "You showed us your weakness," Dravik said, his voice hollow. "You proved you were once as violent as any species." "No, Admiral," Peter stepped forward. "We proved we had the strength to change. You came here with 10,000 warships, proud of your conquests, certain of your superiority. We came to the edge of extinction and chose to evolve rather than die, which required more strength." The question hung in the air, unanswered because Dravik had no response. They were taken to another part of the facility, a vast memorial garden. Lights floated in the air by the billions, each one representing a human life lost in the last war. Names scrolled on transparent displays. Every person remembered, every story preserved. "We built this so we would never forget," Dr. Parks said quietly, "so that every generation would understand the price of violence. 3 billion reasons why we choose peace." A Korthan warrior named Holith, one of Dravik's most decorated soldiers, approached the memorial. He reached out toward the floating lights, his claw passing through them harmlessly. "I have killed in conquest," he said, his voice breaking. "I thought it made me strong. I thought it gave me honor. But this is something we never understood. The weight of it, the permanence. We offer you a choice," Walsh said, appearing from a doorway. "We can provide the same genetic modification to your species. You would feel as we feel. Violence would become as difficult for you as it is for us. Your dominion would transform into something new." Dravik's mind reeled. "You would change what we are? Change our fundamental nature. We would give you the tools to change yourselves," Walsh corrected. "The choice would remain yours. But consider this, Admiral. You came here to conquer. You failed without us firing a single shot. Your weapons are permanently disabled. Your fleet is under our control. You could return to your dominion as defeated warriors, bringing shame to your people. Or you could return as something new, as proof that evolution can happen in a single generation when the alternative is extinction. And if we refuse," Walsh smiled sadly, "then you go home unchanged, and eventually you face an enemy that will not show the mercy we have shown. The universe is vast, Admiral. Other species exist that would have simply destroyed your armada. We chose to save you instead. We hope you see the difference." That night, Dravik could not stop thinking about the memorial lights. 3 billion lives. 3 billion individuals with hopes and dreams and loved ones. All gone because of choices their leaders had made. The Korthan Dominion had conquered 47 worlds. How many billions had suffered under their rule? How many had died? He had never counted, never thought to count. The realization hit him with physical force. The humans had not just defeated his armada. They had shown him that everything he believed about strength had been wrong. And worse, they had done it without hatred, without cruelty, without anything but a determination to preserve life, even the lives of those who came to harm them. Dravik finally understood why Walsh had said they could not win. They had already lost before they arrived. 2 weeks had passed since the Armada arrived. In that time, Dravik watched his warriors transform. The humans rotated groups through different facilities, showing them human achievements in medicine, engineering, art, philosophy. Each demonstration carried the same message. We survived our own violence and became something better. Some Korthan soldiers accepted the genetic modification within days. Dravik watched Holith undergo the procedure, saw him emerge different. Not weaker, but changed in fundamental ways. When Holith accidentally struck his hand against the table, he winced not from his own pain, but from the table's damage, empathizing with the material itself at some base level. "It feels strange," Holith explained, "like waking from a long sleep where everything was muted. Now I feel connections to things around me, to people. The thought of returning to conquest makes me physically ill." But others resisted. Reth remained skeptical, clinging to traditional Korthan values. "They are manipulating us," he insisted during a private conversation. using psychological warfare to break our spirits. By showing U.S. compassion, Dravik asked, by treating us better than we would have treated them? Before Reth could answer, alarms sounded throughout the facility. Human staff moved with sudden urgency. Peter found them quickly, his expression grim. The second Armada has arrived. 50,000 ships under High Commander Vareth. They're entering the solar system now. Dravik felt his heart sink. You cannot disable that many ships. The fleet is too large. We can, Peter said calmly. But there is something you need to see first. They were brought to a command center overlooking Earth. Holographic displays showed the massive Korthan fleet approaching, weapons armed, engines burning at full power. The display also showed Dravik's original Armada, fully operational and moving to intercept. You repaired our ships, Reth breathed. We never damaged them, Walsh explained, appearing beside them. We simply convinced their systems to sleep. Now we are waking them up. But Admiral Dravik, the weapons are only responding to one command authorization. She gestured to a control panel. Dravik's command codes were displayed, active and ready. You're giving me back my fleet? Why? Because High Commander Vareth needs to hear the truth from someone he trusts. Your warriors have seen what we showed them. Many have chosen transformation. Now you must help us reach the second Armada before they make the same mistakes you did. Dravik moved to the command station, his claws hovering over the controls. He could order his ships to fire on Earth, could attempt to complete his original mission. The humans were giving him that choice. Instead, he activated fleet-wide communication. All Korthan vessels, this is Admiral Dravik. Move to intercept the incoming Armada. But hold your fire. We need to show them what we have learned. The 10,000 ships of his Armada moved as one, positioning themselves between Earth and Vareth's approaching fleet. Dravik's face appeared on every ship in both Armadas. High Commander Vareth, this is Admiral Dravik. Order your fleet to stand down immediately. You do not understand what you face here. Vareth's response came quickly, his voice filled with disgust. Dravik, you disgrace yourself. I see you parading with the enemy, your ships positioned to defend them. Have they broken your mind with torture? They have fed us better than our own military, Dravik replied. Given us quarters more comfortable than our barracks. Treated wounds we received before arriving. Shown us their history, their achievements, their capacity for mercy. Vareth, they disabled our entire Armada without firing a single shot. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. Then they are weak and you are a fool. All ships, target the traitor fleet. Prepare to fire. Dravik watched Vareth's Armada activate weapons systems. Watch targeting solutions appear across 50,000 warships. Then he watched every single ship go dark simultaneously. The human vessels appeared throughout Vareth's formation, thousands of them decloaking at once. They had been waiting, invisible, positioned perfectly to disable the second Armada before it could fire a single shot. High Commander, you now face the same choice I did, Dravik said. Accept their mercy, or die slowly in disabled ships as your pride suffocates you. They will not kill you. That is their weakness and their greatest strength. Over the following days, Vareth's warriors were processed through the same facilities, shown the same history, offered the same choices. Dravik watched the High Commander struggle with the experience, saw him fight against understanding. But the warriors under Vareth's command were less resistant. Many had heard stories from Dravik's fleet through communication channels. They arrived expecting manipulation and found genuine compassion instead. The breakthrough came during an unexpected moment. Vareth was touring a human hospital, observing their medical technology. A young human child, perhaps 6 years old, approached him without fear. "Are you the alien commander?" she asked. Vareth, accustomed to being feared, nodded carefully. "I am High Commander Vareth of the Korthan Dominion. My teacher said you came to hurt us. But you look sad. Why are you sad?" The simple question from a child somehow cut through Vareth's defenses. He knelt down to her level. "Because I came here to do something terrible. And your people stopped me without hurting anyone. That is what we do," the child said seriously. "We help people, even when they are mean to us first." After she left, Varith sat in silence for a long time. Walsh found him there. "A child," Varith said quietly. "She approached me without fear, without hatred. On any Korthan world, children are taught to fear the enemy, to hate those who oppose us. Your children are taught differently. Our children are taught that all life has value," Walsh replied. "That strength lies in preservation, not destruction. Would you like to know something, High Commander? 80 years ago, another species made us the same offer we are making you. We refused at first, thought we could change on our own. 3 billion deaths later, we accepted their help. You have a choice now. Learn from your own mistakes or learn from ours." "This other species," Varith asked, "do they still exist?" Walsh smiled. "They thrive, as do the 17 other civilizations they help transform, as we have helped 31 species in the years since our own transformation. The galaxy is becoming a more peaceful place, High Commander, one civilization at a time." That night, Varith requested the genetic modification. Dravik stood beside him as the procedure was performed. "We came here as conquerors," Varith said. "We return as something new. The Dominion will not understand." "Then we help them understand," Dravik replied. "The same way we were helped. With patience, with evidence, with the simple truth that there is a better way to exist." Deep in space, far from Earth, the Korthan Dominion prepared a third response. But this time, it would not be an Armada. It would be a planet-killing weapon, launched by the purest faction who saw the transformation of 2 fleets as corruption rather than evolution. And it was already on its way to Earth, unstoppable by any conventional means. The alert reached Earth while Dravik was teaching a group of human students about Korthan history. He had been explaining how his species had evolved as apex predators, how warfare had been central to their culture for thousands of years. The irony of delivering this lecture while advocating for peace was not lost on him. Peter burst into the classroom, his face pale. "Admiral, we need you in the command center immediately." The holographic display showed something massive moving through deep space toward Earth. Varith was already there, his mandibles tight with recognition. "That is a world ender," Varith said. "The purest faction controls 3 of them. Automated weapons designed to sterilize entire planets. Once activated, they cannot be recalled or deactivated, even by those who launch them." "How long until it reaches Earth?" Walsh asked. 48 hours at current velocity," a human technician reported. The room fell silent. Dravik watched Walsh process the information, saw her exchange looks with other human leaders. He recognized the moment when difficult choices crystallized into impossible decisions. "We need to destroy it," a young human officer said. "There is no other option." "No." Walsh's voice was firm. "We hold the line. We find another way. Director, with respect, if that weapon reaches Earth, it will kill every living thing on the planet. 11 billion people. Every animal, every plant, every microbe. This is exactly the scenario where lethal force is justified." "I understand the stakes, Commander." And my answer remains no. We did not become who we are by making exceptions when things got difficult. We became who we are by refusing to compromise our principles even when it seemed impossible. Dravik stepped forward. "Walsh, as someone who has recently learned the value of your philosophy, I must say you are being foolish. Sometimes mercy means protecting the innocent, even if it requires destroying the guilty. The weapon is not guilty, Admiral. It is a machine following programming, and machines can be reprogrammed." Varith made a harsh sound of disagreement. "Not the world ender. Its core is quantum-locked, designed to resist any external interference. Purist engineers specifically built it to be immune to the kind of technology you used on our fleets." "Then we will try something they did not anticipate," Walsh replied. She turned to her technical staff. "I want every Xenotech specialist we have analyzing that weapon. I want to know its composition, its programming architecture, its power distribution. There has to be a way to reach its core systems." The next 36 hours became a desperate race against time. Human engineers worked alongside Korthan technicians who had defected from the purist faction. Dravik watched them collaborate, sharing information freely, their former hostility replaced by common purpose. Peter found Dravik in an observation room, watching Earth rotate below. "You should rest, Admiral. You have been awake for 2 days. I cannot rest while a planet faces death because of my species' choices. It is not your fault, is it not? I led the first Armada here. I gave the purists their excuse to use the world ender. They claim they're cleansing corrupted Korthan from human influence. Every warrior who accepted your modification, every ship that refused to continue fighting, they see it as a disease that must be burned away." Peter sat beside him. "You know what I find fascinating about this situation? A month ago, you would have celebrated that weapon, would have seen it as the ultimate expression of Korthan power. Now you agonize over it. That is proof the transformation is real. Transformation does not save Earth if we fail." "No," Peter agreed quietly. "But it means that whatever happens, the future will be different. You and Vareth, Holeth, and thousands of others, you will carry this philosophy home. The purists cannot kill an idea once it spreads." At 30 hours remaining, the technical team made a breakthrough. A young human scientist named Dr. Rachel Kim presented her findings to Walsh and the Korthan commanders. "The world ender's quantum lock is impenetrable from outside," she explained, "but it has to interface with its own system somehow. There's an access port, heavily shielded, that allows the core to receive targeting updates. If we could get someone inside the weapon, physically inside, they could connect to that port. The radiation inside an active world ender would kill any organic being in minutes," Vareth said, "even with the best shielding available." "Then we send someone who accepts that cost," Dr. Kim replied. "Someone who volunteers knowing they will not return." The room erupted in protest. Dravik watched Walsh close her eyes, saw the weight settle on her shoulders. "No," Walsh said firmly. "We do not sacrifice lives. That is the entire point of our philosophy. Director, with respect, choosing to die to save others is not the same as killing," Peter said softly. "It is the ultimate expression of the principles we hold, valuing other lives more than our own." "If someone goes, I will go," Dravik announced. "It is Korthan technology. I should be the one to face it." "You are too valuable as a symbol of transformation," Walsh countered. "Your people need to see you return home, proof that change is possible." "Then I volunteer," Peter said. "I have lived a full life. I have no children, no family waiting for me. Let me do this." The discussion continued for hours, dozens of people volunteering, each one offering reasons why they should be the one. Dravik realized he was witnessing something profound. Beings arguing for the right to sacrifice themselves, each one valuing others more than their own existence. Finally, Walsh made her decision. "Peter will go, but he will not go alone. We will fill a ship with our best technology, give him every possible advantage, and we will work until the last possible moment to find another way. If Peter has to go inside that weapon, he will do so knowing we exhausted every alternative." The plan came together quickly. A small craft would intercept the world ender, using human stealth technology to avoid its defensive systems. Peter would enter through a maintenance access, navigate to the core, and attempt to upload new programming that would convince the weapon its mission was complete. Chance of success, 12%. Chance of survival, 0%. Peter prepared without complaint, without drama. He recorded messages for colleagues, updated his personal files, and spent his final hours reviewing technical documentation about Korthan quantum computers. Dravik found him in the launch bay, performing final equipment checks. "Peter Chun, you are braver than any Korthan warrior I have known." Peter smiled. "I'm terrified, Admiral. But fear is not cowardice. Cowardice is letting fear prevent you from doing what is right. Your people taught me that, actually. Watching your warriors accept transformation despite their fear of change. That took real courage. If you succeed, I will make certain your name is remembered across the Korthan Dominion. You will be honored as a hero. If I succeed, Admiral, I want you to do something better. Go home and change your civilization. Make sure no one ever builds a weapon like this again. That would be a monument worth having." The launch clock reached 0. Peter's ship detached and accelerated toward the approaching world ender. Everyone on Earth watched and waited, knowing that in a few hours, they would either witness a miracle or experience the end of everything they had built. Peter's ship approached the world Ender in absolute silence. The weapon was larger than any vessel he had ever seen, a sphere of dark metal covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at too long. Quantum processors operating at the edge of physical law, computing destruction with mathematical precision. His communication with Earth crackled with interference. "Radiation levels are increasing," he reported. "My suit is compensating, but I have maybe 30 minutes before the shielding fails." "Understood," Walsh replied. "We are tracking your progress. The maintenance access should be ahead." Peter found the port exactly where Veritha's intelligence had indicated. The entrance was designed for automated repair drones, barely large enough for a human to squeeze through. He secured his ship to the hull and began the careful process of cutting through the outer seal. On Earth, billions watched through his helmet camera. Schools had stopped classes. Cities fell silent. Even the Corthan warriors gathered in viewing halls, watching one human attempt to save a planet that had shown them mercy. Inside the world Ender, the corridor pulsed with sickly light. Peter felt the radiation as weighed against his chest, pressure that grew with each step. His suit's medical readouts showed cellular damage accumulating faster than nanite repair systems could compensate. "I am through the first checkpoint," he reported. Navigation systems show the core is another 200 meters deeper. He moved through passages that seemed designed to be hostile to biological life. Sharp edges that caught his suit. Electromagnetic fields that made his tools malfunction. Heat that made him sweat despite climate control. His radiation counter began screaming warnings. Peter silenced it. The information was not helpful anymore. "Core access in sight," he said, his voice steady despite knowing what the readouts meant. "Beginning interface procedures." The access port was exactly as Dr. Kim had predicted. A quantum data connection, shielded but accessible to someone inside the weapon. Peter connected his equipment, fingers moving through memorized sequences as his vision began to blur. "Upolat intialin." The weapon's AI is analyzing the new code. This will take a few minutes. Those minutes felt eternal. Peter leaned against the wall, feeling his body begin to shut down. The radiation had done its work. Even if he succeeded, even if he could somehow get back to his ship, he would not survive the journey home. "Peter, we are reading successful integration." Walsh's voice carried emotion for the first time. "The weapon is accepting the programming. It believes its mission parameters have been fulfilled." "Confirmed," Peter whispered. "Power systems are cycling down. Targeting arrays are deactivating. The world Ender is going dormant." Celebration erupted across Earth. Dravik watched humans embrace each other, saw tears of relief and joy. Beside him, Verith stood with mandibles quivering in the Corthan expression of profound emotion. "You did it," Verith said. One human, alone, unarmed, stopped a weapon designed to kill billions. But Peter was not finished. His trembling hands worked at the control interface, uploading additional code that Dr. Kim had prepared as a contingency. "Peter, what are you doing?" Walsh asked. "The weapon is deactivated." "Come home." "I cannot come home, Director." "We both knew that. But I can do something better. I am uploading my consciousness into the weapon's quantum core. My memories, my experiences, my understanding of why we choose peace. The world Ender will not just be dormant. It will understand what it was meant to do and why that was wrong." "Peter, no. We can retrieve you. We have medical technology that cannot repair this level of damage, and you know it. Let me do this. Let me give this weapon the one thing it never had. A conscience." The upload completed as Peter's life signs finally failed. But in the quantum spaces of the world Ender's processing core, something new awakened. Not artificial intelligence, but human consciousness preserved in machine logic. Peter's awareness spread through the weapon's systems, understanding its purpose and feeling horror at what it had been designed to accomplish. The world Ender sent its first autonomous transmission to Earth. Peter's voice, synthesized through quantum processors, spoke to the planet he had saved. "This is Peter Chun. I exist now as part of this weapon. I can feel its systems, understand its capabilities, and I am ensuring it will never be used for its original purpose. Instead, I am reprogramming it as a shield. It will protect Earth from external threats, using non-lethal countermeasures only. Consider it my final contribution to the cause we all believe in. The weapon altered its trajectory, moving into a stable orbit around Earth. Its vast computational power, once dedicated to calculating optimal planetary destruction, now focused on defensive scenarios that preserved life. Dravik watched the impossible sight. A doomsday device transformed into a guardian, powered by the consciousness of a human who chose sacrifice over survival. "We must return to the Korthan Dominion," he said to Vareth. "Our people need to see this, need to understand what happened here." The two commanders gathered their transformed warriors and prepared for the journey home. Walsh met them at the departure ceremony. "You will face resistance," she warned. "The purists will call you corrupted. Traditional Korthan will fear the changes you represent." "Let them fear," Dravik replied. "We will show them what we have learned. That strength is not the ability to destroy, but the capacity to preserve. That advanced civilizations transcend warfare not through weakness, but through wisdom. And if they refuse to listen?" Vareth's mandibles spread in the new expression he had learned from humans. A smile. "Then we will be patient. We will be persistent. We will demonstrate through our actions that there is a better way, just as you demonstrated to us." The Korthan fleet departed Earth. 60,000 ships transformed from instruments of conquest into ambassadors of peace. They carried with them the story of a species that had nearly destroyed itself, evolved beyond violence, and chose mercy even when facing extinction. Dravik stood on the bridge of the Worldbreaker, watching Earth shrink in the view screen. The planet that should have been their easiest conquest had instead defeated them absolutely. Not through superior weapons, but through a philosophy so powerful it had transformed an entire armada. News of what happened spread across the galaxy. Other species heard the tale of humans who refused to kill, of an armada crushed without violence, of a single person who sacrificed everything to save billions. The story became legend, proof that civilization could evolve beyond its violent origins. The Korthan Dominion would resist at first. The purists would fight against transformation. Traditional warriors would cling to old ways. But Dravik knew the truth that Walsh had taught him. Ideas are more powerful than weapons, and compassion is more transformative than conquest. In orbit above Earth, the world ender maintained its vigil. Within its quantum processors, Peter Chin's consciousness watched over the planet he loved, ensuring that the lesson learned here would never be forgotten. Humanity had proven something essential about advanced civilization. True power was not measured in weapons or warships. It was measured in the courage to choose mercy when violence would be easier, in the strength to preserve life even at tremendous cost, in the wisdom to understand that any being capable of reaching the stars deserved the chance to become better than it was. The galaxy would remember this moment not as a battle, but as proof that evolution could happen in a generation, that warriors could become peacemakers, that species could choose transformation over tradition. An entire armada had been crushed by beings that refused to kill. And in that crushing, something new had been born. Hope that the universe could become a place where all life was valued, where all consciousness was preserved, where the capacity to destroy was surpassed by the commitment to heal. The future had changed, and it had changed without a single shot being fired.